For what I want to do, I don't. But what I hate, I do. So people want to be conscious about maybe purchases or things like that. So maybe they buy fair trade. Recently we got a donation to the well of a bunch of fair trade chocolate bars from Ecuador, and Erica grabbed a whole stack of them, and she's like, "I'm going to share these with people I work with." And so she takes them and shares them, and people are gobbling them up and unwrapping them. But there's one man standing there with the wrapper, and he's staring at it, kind of solemn looking. And there's a picture of a farm inside. He's from Ecuador, and he says, "I work this farm. I come from this farm. And it doesn't seem like a good thing." And so she kind of nervously starts talking to him about it. And he actually still goes there every summer and works there. She's asking him about fair trade. He's like, "I don't know. I don't know what they do, if they do something in the community or if the entrepreneur gets something. But I know that the wages they pay don't do justice with the work that we do. I have a desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out." I have some vegan friends that are really opposed to the idea of killing animals. And so they're vegan by choice. And then I think about all the deer and rabbits and animals that are killed every year to protect the soy fields that grow their diet. And the evil I do not want to do, I keep on doing. There is no way to have clean hands. And try as we might in this world, all of us participate in exploitation and injustice of some level. And we benefit from it. And we are complicit, and there is blood on our hands. And I imagine, as it did in the story of Cain and Abel, that blood is crying out from the ground, but we still try. Over the years, I've attended all kinds of different protests to stand with and cry out for justice alongside protesters. But as the years gone on, I've more and more left with disillusionment, because it seems that the same spirit that I went to oppose often possessed the people that I stood among as well. Resentment and hatred and violence. Mother Teresa, someone came up to her, said, "You've been in Calcutta for all these years, and it's still Calcutta." So great. We want a tangible example of justice. And I look from east to west, and I can't help but think, my God, why have you forsaken us? And despair tries to snuff out the fire by asking, what's the point? It's still Calcutta. And Micah reminds us, do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly. But what is justice? And if we all took a sheet of paper right now and we wrote out our definitions, we would no doubt find that many of us define that thing very, very differently. Is it punishment for wrong? Is it access to what you need? Is it fairness or equality? Is it getting what you deserve? Our disagreements are easy to see when we look at conversations we have about salvation, grace, and the justice of God. The term justice is an abstract concept. And this is the challenge because it's murky. It's a moving target. It's off in the distance, and it's hidden by a fog. And this is the case with words like justice, truth, the kingdom. Jesus said that the kingdom is like that too. He said, you won't be able to say, here it is, or there it is. He said, the kingdom of heaven is within you, among you. It's in your midst. Oh, it's here and it's coming. And if you're like me, you want something concrete. And I think that's what Christianity is about. The logos made flesh, the abstract made concrete. And so Jesus is, for those of us that follow him, the image of the invisible God. And you may not know what you think about God or love or truth or justice, but here's something you all know: pain and doubt and grief and loss. We know it in our bones. Evil and injustice, it's not as abstract. So we may not all define justice the same way, but we do agree about tangible injustice. We can agree that there should be no Holocaust, no transatlantic slave trade, no Jim Crow laws, no extreme poverty or starvation, no child abuse. And that list, unfortunately, could go on and on ad nauseum. Because everywhere we look, we see injustice and oppression and suffering caused by other humans who misuse power and strength to violate basic humanity and dignity of those that most need advocates and friends and love. Pain is real, and it's concrete, it's tangible, and it's undeniable. And so for me, this became an existential bedrock, a foundation that could be built upon. So we lament sin and injustice because it ruptures goodness and whatever justice we did know. And we know that we can't go back to it. If I attack you and injure you, I'm always the one that did that, and you're always the one that suffered at my hands. And so our longing is kind of a nostalgia for a better world that did exist, but we can't go back to it. And often working for justice seems fruitless. So if you work for money, you can fill a bank account. If you work out in the gym, you can measure your muscles or see yourself lose weight. But working for justice is a weird, strange discipline. Where's the impact? And are we getting anywhere? And have we done more harm than good? And what's the point? So Aristotle has this incredible book on ethics. And the one thing that stuck out to me from that book is he says injustice can be amplified by relationship. It's really easy to illustrate this. It's wrong to steal from a stranger. It's worse to steal from your friend. It's wrong to punch someone. And God help you if you punch your dad. The closer the relationship, the greater the injustice. And so reflecting on this, I started to wonder, can we flip that measurement upside down? Is justice greater when it's done for a stranger? Could this be what Jesus means when he say, love your enemies? And this has been a helpful idea for me as it brings it home and it makes it personal and interpersonal. And when the voice of despair points out, it's still Calcutta. But I can't throw up my hands and give up because evil and injustice is unacceptable. And so I often repeat the prayer echoed in the 12 steps. God, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And so when I think about what is in my control, if I want economic justice, maybe I should just go home and print out my credit card statements and bank statements and sit down in the posture of the fourth step in a searching and fearless moral inventory and look in the mirror and ask, do I want economic justice? You want to make poverty history, but will you make it personal? I remember Gustavo Gutierrez asking, you love the poor? Name them. Do we know them by name? Do we spend time with the other, with the poor, with the stranger? Do we listen? And this is precisely the tangible move that is in my control. The question is, can I put my own house in order? And this connection between justice and relationship, I think, strikes at the heart of what is emerging for me as something like an answer. Because you know who isn't asking the question of whether or not working for justice is worth it? People that are suffering and people that have become friends with those that are suffering. It's one thing to wonder if someone else's problem should be your problem or if they're worth fighting for. But if you commune with them and become family, then you never stop fighting. And who cares how long it takes or how much it costs or how many times we fail? What choice do we have? Because the reality is unacceptable. And I would argue that justice, like love, is about reuniting. Sin tears apart and love draws together. And when those enemies and strangers become kin, their struggle becomes our own. When love is shared between people, they care for and look out for one another's wants and needs. So I need some measure of progress. I can look at my life and look at my relationships and ask myself, am I doing everything in my power to draw closer to and learn from those that are suffering? Am I spending myself on behalf of and alongside the poor? And all of our language about the future kingdom, a place of justice, goodness, peace, love, unity, there's signposts that point into the fog. And with each step, we can see a little further into that fog, and we see a vision of every tongue, tribe, and nation gathered before a throne of grace. There's a relational signpost. And these signposts are true, but they don't give us a crystal clear picture. It's not explicit. They point toward a trajectory. And so maybe justice is like that. It's a dream. It's a vision. It's a hope. And it often seems unreal and it seems extremely unlikely. But occasionally you can almost taste it in those rare moments when heaven touches earth and everyone is expressing freedom and grace and love. This is the call and the longing and the prayer to embody that vision, to make the abstract concrete, the logos, flesh, to live that prayer. May your kingdom come here and now on earth as it is in heaven. It's a living rehearsal of what is coming. It is practicing. It's training ourselves to love and do justice. Because you may not see an opportunity to throw your bodies into the gears of a system of injustice, but one day you may. Will you be ready and will you be able? Because I think that it is what we are doing and practicing right now today that will help answer that question. Because God forbid we find ourselves in a tangible and concrete situation that demands everything you have, and we have not trained ourselves for the task at hand. And by the way, when Mother Teresa was asked that question about Calcutta still being Calcutta, her answer, I think, was beautiful. She said, God didn't call me to be successful. I was called to be faithful. And this is the call for you as well. So how do you maintain hope in the face of despair? And I'll never forget the answer that Jürgen Moltmann gave when he was asked that exact question. He said, as a protest. Faith, hope, and love, these are our protests in the face of injustice. Our work is to embody that dream no matter what it costs. Injustice and poverty are the fruit of broken relationships. And so I want to leave you with these words from Father Greg Boyle of Homeboy Industries. I suspect that if kinship were our goal, we would no longer be pursuing justice. We would in fact be celebrating it. For no kinship, no justice. No kinship, no peace. Thank you.